Molly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me on Live. So, if you guys have been listening, I was on Molly's show a few weeks ago and it was amazing. And I could not wait to have her join us on Live to inspire you guys in my community and to bring all of her magic and her purpose and passion to you guys so that you guys could get all of everything that she has to offer and hear everything that she has to offer you guys. And just to feel how, for me, I guess the conversation that me and you had was just like, it was just overwhelming. Like I really enjoyed it. I really was inspired just about it, the conversation that we had and just about reading about you and knowing everything about you. So this is what I wanted to share with my community as well. And so they can feel the same thing that I feel. So you want to start off by telling us a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So I work with coaches and holistic practitioners, people who trade in wisdom and guidance, who are usually great at what they do. And for whatever reason, oftentimes us heart-centered holistic practitioner types really suck at talking about what we do. So I help those people to figure out what their messaging is, learn how to create content. Oftentimes I'm helping people navigate from a one-on-one practice to creating courses and programs and learning how to use email marketing in a really heart-centered and compassionate way. And building their message into a movement that can actually support way more people and also supporting themselves in the process. A lot of times when we're growing and trying to grow a business, there's some unseen or limitations or blocks inside of us that need to be addressed and looked at so that we can energetically line up to what we really want to create in our lives and our businesses and the impact we want to have in the world. So I help on both sides of that, the creation side, the technology and systemization side, and also the inner work to sort of unlock ourselves and set ourselves free.
Awesome. So how did you get started in working with holistic providers?
Yeah. So I started my business doing hypnotherapy. It's not something I practice as a modality really anymore. I still do guided visualizations and some hypnosis stuff in my group programs, but I started as a healer and I really sort of was trying to figure out who I wanted to serve, was trying to figure out like the business I wanted to grow. I really knew I wanted an online business that could travel with me because I've been nomadic for half of my life. And in that process, I learned a lot about content creation. I was creating courses and programs. I was building out email funnels and sequences and just geeking out on that side of business. And after a while, I kind of realized that I had mastered a bunch of these tools and I was in community with hundreds of other coaches and holistic practitioners through different organizations I was involved in. And they all needed that service. They needed help with that stuff. And it actually took a conversation with a friend of mine where the coaching business I was trying to make work at the time was just not quite working. And I was like, Karen, can you just tell me what I'm good at? Like, can you please just tell me what the world needs from me? Because I can't seem to see it for myself. I was having sort of a dark night of the soul, trying to figure out who I was supposed to be in the world. And she said, we need your help with that stuff. We need your help with the technology and the content creation and the copywriting and all these things that you have like such ease with. And the words that came out of my mouth were, nobody's going to pay me for that because that's the fun part. And if you ever find yourself hearing those words come out of your mouth, that's probably a sign that the fun part is what you're meant to do in the world. And not ironically, I happened to the next day have the opportunity to speak to a group of coaches and holistic practitioners. And overnight, I changed my talk. I did a different speech entirely than I was going to do. And I gave people an opportunity to get my support with that as a service. And 3 people signed up and that turned into 3 packages. And those packages turned into referrals. And that was the beginning of the business that I now run. So I've been doing what I do now for about 5 or 6 years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love the journey and I love how you were seeking for yourself and not just seeking for the next dollar, right? Not just seeking to make other people happy, but you were seeking to make yourself happy. So what are some things that you found within yourself when you were beginning this journey, if that makes sense?
So much.
Okay.
So much. I talk about this a lot, but the journey of entrepreneurship is really self-effacing. It's really confronting. If you are going out there trying to support people like with healing or holistic practitioner modalities, you're basically selling yourself. You're not like you're selling yourself out, but you're selling yourself as a service, as a thing. And so fundamentally inside of that, you have to believe that you have value. And when I was in my younger years, I really didn't believe that about me yet. And I really had a lot of imposter syndrome come up. I had a lot of I don't know enough come up, a lot of comparison with other people who I thought were doing similar things to me, that I would never get to where they are, or that I needed to be more like someone else. And all of that had to really be looked at and moved through in order for me to stand in what my truth is and stand in alignment with who I really am.
Right.
And the beauty is, you know, now I have clients who are raving fans of my work, who can't wait to work with me, who get on the phone already knowing that they want to sign up for something and not just needing to know which package or program that is best for them. And that is, to me, clear evidence that I moved through the things that, at least the beginning things that needed to be moved through, to allow my magic to be received, to allow my people to zero in and find me as the right help for them, and also to get out of my own way to create the things. I mean, if you take a look at my website, I have a stupid amount of offerings and programs and courses and gifts and things that I can't help but keep creating. It's who I am. It's how my brain likes to function. So, yeah, I am slightly prolific in the creation end of things, as you are, which is why I loved having our conversation we had on my show.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, and so I've created a business that allows me to use my brain and my being the way it wants to be used, and to create things and to problem solve and to help other people solve problems. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Being creative is, it's like my breathing. Like I don't know how not to do it. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and she was telling me I had so much going on. And she was like, "You just have too much going on, and you need to focus on one thing." And I was like, and every time I try to do something, and I try to keep that in the back of my head, and I'm like, I really can't, because I don't know how to do one thing. And like I still work a 9 to 5, and it's like even on my job we do multiple things. So I'm like, why would I put myself in a box for my own creation? Like that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me. So, but yes, I love being creative. I love allowing myself to dream and to dare and to challenge my own self, because at the end of the day, we don't want other people challenging us, like you said. Like we don't want to compare. We don't want to feel like we're not wanted. We don't want to feel like there's not a place for us in this world. So in doing that, you have to allow yourself to challenge yourself, and so that you can be able to force yourself to go above and beyond boundaries that you would have never thought you could do. Right. So
Totally.
that's amazing. I love it. So tell me a little bit more about these breaking down barriers that you had to go through. You talked about, finding yourself, finding your place, and you talked a lot about helping people, which is awesome. But like, break it down a little bit more for us, like emotionally. Like, how was it beneficial to you emotionally?
Yeah. Well, I mean, anytime we come up against a block, it's going to feel like resistance. It's going to
Mhm.
feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel emotional sometimes, maybe dramatic. And that discomfort, in my interesting point of view, is like a beacon. It's a signal saying there's something right here to look at. There's something that
Right.
needs your attention. There's something about this that's for you. It's true even if you just come across somebody that sort of bothers you and that makes you like uncomfortable in life. What is that person being or embodying right now that you're not willing to be or embody or claim and own or acknowledge about yourself yet? So I'm fortunate to be someone who journals every day. I write every morning before I get out of bed, and I write the last thing I do in the day is right before I fall asleep. And that practice of introspection allows me to sort of analyze those aspects of myself. Why is this bothering me? I ask myself questions all day long. What in this is for me? Even if something seemingly negative is showing up in my life, I'm curious what the lesson is in that. What's the purpose of that for me? If it's showing up in my life, how is this what I've been asking for? Or how is this something that in the long run is going to support my growth? And so asking myself those questions and being willing to look at what needs to be looked at is a huge component in moving through those blocks. Also, getting support when you need support. It's really not easy to see our own blind spots. And those blind spots are designed that way because they're really a self-protection mechanism that keeps us from falling down a well or getting attacked by a saber-toothed tiger or whatever the case may be, that the system is designed to keep itself safe. And that means slightly closed off usually. So sometimes we need support. We need someone to facilitate us, to coach us, to guide us, to ask us the right questions when we don't know how to ask them ourselves. So one of the smartest things I did in the beginning of my business, and also just for myself in my life, is lean into support and actually be willing to invest in coaching and training programs and insightful people. Also surrounding myself with people who are coaches and healers has been really helpful for me, because a lot of times if I need support, I can just call a friend.
Right.
And I am that friend that people can call also. And so having support when you need it, and having somebody who will ask you the right questions and who will listen to you without having their own opinion about it, and who will, help you form your own conclusions by being that sounding board, is a game changer. It's so important. And sometimes it requires us to invest in ourselves. And I think that's also a power move, when we're willing to say, hey, I care about me and my growth enough to put money on the table for it. That's a huge signal to the universe, and a huge signal to yourself that you mean business and you're going where you intend to go.
Yeah, it is, definitely. So tell us a little bit more about the name of your podcast.
Yeah, my business is called Wild Hearts Rise Up, because I tend to work with the more wild-hearted people, the pioneers, the visionaries, the inspirators. My podcast is called Tactical Magic, because that's really sort of what I do. I mix the tactics and the strategy with the magic, the inspiration, the energetics, the consciousness of things. And so my podcast really vacillates between, I have guest interviews most of the time, and sometimes they're really strategic, business-minded folk, where we're talking about growing your business to 7 figures, or launching your podcast, or learning how to market yourself, or why you should learn how to market yourself. And then it also showcases a lot of different healers and healing modalities and tools that you can use, like I said, to unblock yourself or unstick yourself from those limitations or those limiting beliefs. So Tactical Magic is sort of the bridge between the magic and the strategy of being an entrepreneur.
Love it. I love it. So how did you come up with Wild Hearts Rise Up?
I was kind of playing with words when I shifted from being a hypnotherapist to having more of a coaching kind of business. I wanted to call it based on who it was for. And I also wanted to call out their biggest desire. And I think the wild hearts are the people who know they cannot be tamed, who want to do life their way, who want to be more of themselves and trust that inner call, and who have a deep connection to something greater than this society world, and something more natural and maybe more spiritual. And then we want to rise up. We want to rise above what's been stopping us. We want to rise above oppression or judgment or whatever the thing is that feels like an upper limit or a glass ceiling above us. And so Wild Hearts Rise Up was just the words that came together and sounded right. So that's why I went with it.
Yeah, I love it. It's very distinct. And I think that was one of the main things that drew me to you, is when I was strolling and I was looking for something to inspire me, because I was looking for stuff for my podcast, and I saw it and I was like, oh my God, and I reached out to you, and it was definitely an eye opener, and I learned a lot. I love listening to your podcast. So guys, if you're interested in everything that she offers, definitely tune in. But it helped me in a lot of different ways, and we'll definitely talk more after. But it definitely helped me in a lot of different ways. And just hearing the magic and the power that you have in your business, and in who you are, and giving yourself the authority to allow yourself to do everything is amazing. And I think sometimes as women, we stop ourselves because we feel like we're not worthy. We feel like nobody, like you said, nobody's going to pay you to do this, but everybody doesn't have the same talents and the same gifts that we have. And so it's marketable, definitely. So tell us a little bit more on how we should be able to build that support system. Like, how do we go about building that support system?
Yeah, well, I mean, I also want to talk about building that trust in yourself and building that
Oh yeah,
belief that you can
definitely.
do this. Because if you told me 10 years ago that I would be teaching business, I would have laughed in your face. Like that wasn't a skill that I had come out with. That wasn't like thing I studied in college. I was an art major. I was an architecture major that turned into an art major because I decided architecture wasn't for me. Um, and I had no reason, no good reason to go into this. I just had a curiosity and I was willing to chase that curiosity all the way down the rabbit hole until it became something I had a knack for. So, what are you already doing that you're interested in? Or what have you been wanting to try or learn about or play with? And how could that actually turn into something that like fills your cup, not just fills your cup energetically, but fills your cup financially too? Because there's a lot of I mean there's so many ways to make money on the internet doing something you fucking love now, excuse my language, that the possibilities are literally limitless. Like there's a guy who his dad died and he wished he had someone telling him how to do things that a dad would normally teach you how to do. So he made a YouTube channel just showing people the things your dad should have taught you how to do, how to change his tire, how to shave your face the right way. And he's making a living off of a YouTube channel, just making videos about that stuff. So, like, there's so many ways to do it. I just want to impress upon that following your curiosity and giving yourself the time to explore anything you're interested in and anything you're passionate about. If you follow it long enough, it very likely will become something if you're willing to dedicate the time and attention to that. And then, yeah, support is huge. Finding the right support is huge. First off, I would look at what's the biggest block right now. If it's internal, if it's energetic, if it's you're talking to yourself, I read a ton of books. There are plenty of books you can read. There are plenty of free videos from coaches and like leaders that you can watch on YouTube or on social media. But also finding people in your life. So if you don't have friends or significant others or family members that are going to have your back in something like this, go somewhere else. It's okay if your best friends can't grok the scope of what you're creating. It's really okay. There are people who will have your back, and it's worth taking the time to go and find them. Meetup.com is amazing. Going to networking events for people who are doing business. If you're an entrepreneur, you want to grow something as an entrepreneur. I used to go to like 3 or 4 networking events every week when I was starting out for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to learn how to talk about what I did effectively. And so I would try out all the different ways I could talk about what I did till it felt like, oh, that got people, like that resonated. And then also, I wanted to make friends with people who were building a dream the same as mine or similar to mine. And I wanted to surround myself with people who maybe were doing it better than me. So I could look at their life and be like, okay, that's what it's like. Okay, they're doing this. I don't need to copy them, but I want to get an energetic hit of like, what is it like when this is actually working? What's that feel like? What's the energetic quality of being that that person holds? And how can I spend more time in that space so I can start stepping into it? Set up coffee dates, set up calls, actually go out to lunch with people, like figure out how to surround yourself with people who are on the level or growing to the same level you want to grow to, and make that part of your life, because that understanding the energy of where you want to get to is a huge part in getting there. And that takes some doing sometimes. And that's really okay.
Yeah, it is. It is. I love that. I love that. I think we tend to just shy away from things. We tend to postpone things. We tend to procrastinate a lot. And I definitely am a big procrastinator. And it's funny because I am, but I'm not. Like I'll
You
procrastinate.
are, but you're not. You also
I
get
am.
so much done.
Right, I do, but it's like I try to like put certain things on the back burner until I can get to it. Like, so I'm like, okay, I got like 2 or 3 weeks left. I got to get it done. But I just, because sometimes things can be overwhelming and you can think about it and then you overwhelm yourself, I guess, and then we kind of get lost in the emotions and the thoughts of everything. And so untangling that is what you do, and I love that. So can you kind of help us, like, guide us through how to untangle, or how to even reach out to people like that do what you do? How do we find people who can help us come in and structure our business, structure our podcast, structure our coaching? Because I'm tell you, like, I'm that stuff is not fun to me.
Right.
So that
It's
is
not fun
why
to
I
most people,
postpone
which is
it.
why I'm still in business, I think.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I
Like
mean, anybody who's out there listening, if you want support with that kind of stuff, I'm happy to have a call with you and chat about what your business looks like and what you want it to look like and strategize that kind of thing with you. As far as finding the network of people to connect with, meetup.com is a great resource. And if you don't find the meetup that you want in your area, start it yourself. I have people who are like, I wish there were workshops about nonviolent communication in my area. I'm like so into this thing, but like no one here is doing it. Okay, we'll start that meetup. Put that on meetup.com, be the one leading the group and see what shows up, see who comes, see what you can create in that space. Cause you see, I want this, there's a gap, let me fill it, make it myself. So you might have to be the one who creates that community that gathers the people to you for that purpose. And that's really okay too. Just like you're building this women's conference. I don't know if it's happening in a month or two.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Amazing. So yeah, you made something because you were like, I want to see this here and I'll be the one to make it now. That's fine.
Right.
And so showing up to events like that, show up to conferences, show up to workshops, see what's in your area, do a Google search of what you want to be surrounded by and like ask yourself, what kind of people do I really want to be hanging out with right now? It's okay to keep your friends. It's okay to keep your family. But like, if I were stepping into the life I want to live, who would I be hanging out with? And where are they hanging out right now? And how can I go show up there and start looking for that?
Right. That's powerful. I love that. Definitely. Yeah. Figure out who you want to be with. Right. And surround yourself, figure out where they are. And that's where you need to be.
Yeah.
That's totally honest. Yeah. I love that. So, that, in building a business is not easy, and it's not easy finding your right circle. It's not easy finding your right company. It's very important though that you surround yourself with like-minded people. And I just want to make that very clear. Like you have to, and like you said, it's okay for you to keep your friends, it's okay you keep your family, but just know certain topics you want me to talk about, like certain interests you just want.
They might not get it. And it's also
right.
not worth it to share some budding, beautiful idea with someone you know is going to shoot it down if that's going to stop you in your tracks. So be careful who you share your dream with at first. Once it's like a thriving, booming thing, talk about it whoever you want. But when it's still this like sacred thing that you're not sure is going to work out, that you're like really excited about, and someone might shoot down and like kill it, careful who you share it with. Your big brother might not have your back right at that moment, or whoever. Your best friend might be jealous and be like, that's a bad idea. Right. And then go do it herself.
That's true.
So just be aware of whether someone can have your back in that or not. And some people are going to champion you and like want to be at your back the whole time. And some people just won't get it. I mean, it took 5 years probably for my dad to even get that I had a business and it was paying me money. He was sending me like ideas for jobs I could go and do. And I had to like sit him down and be like, yo, I'm doing something awesome. You have got to stop sending me job ideas. Like, look at what I'm making.
Right.
All these people can see me. Why can't you see it? And I had to have that moment with him and be like, yo, it's not helpful. Look at this.
Because I think, our parents definitely, they have an idea of what they want us to be and how they want us to live. So yeah, I could definitely understand why he was kind of stuck in that moment. Like,
he's trying to help, but yeah, he couldn't see it until I was like, see this now.
But that's what we have to do, even for ourselves. We have to force ourselves to look at what's actually, what our, I don't know, like what your spirit is actually telling you that this is what I want to do. Like you have to listen. In my church, we fast every year. And then we have like certain days we fast on just to get like our flesh and our body under subjection. You have to do the same thing, by yourself. Like you have to get your body under subjection to understand what you're trying to do and what's best for you. So yeah, like I totally get that. That's awesome.
Yeah, having quiet space is like that fasting for your mind. We are so inundated with input in this reality that it's really valuable to like take a walk more often or sit and be quiet for a few minutes. You don't have to call it meditating if you don't like meditating, but like sit and chill for a minute. Right. See what comes up, see what ideas are there, see what your brain is trying to do, or try journaling, write one page every night before you go to bed, see what comes out. Like those blank spaces are where the new ideas and the brilliant insights come through.
Definitely. And I brag on journaling so much too on my podcast. Like I'm a big fanatic about journaling. I even make my kids do it. They probably don't want to, but I make them do it anyway.
They'll appreciate it later.
They will. They will.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about your magic. Like, what is your magic? Like, what is your most prized possession that you do?
Yeah. So the modality that I love the most, the tools that I keep returning to that I use on a daily basis are called access consciousness. And access consciousness is like a whole school of thought. I think of it like law of attraction on steroids. It's just tons of verbal processing and body processing that sets you free from the limitations of this reality. That's all I'm going to say about it. If it's interesting to you, I would Google it, look at accessconsciousness.com. There's tons of podcasts about it. There's a great podcast called Curious Universe Podcast by my friend Cassie Summers. And Dane here and Gary Douglas are the facilitators of that. And there's classes all over the world. But that's the main like magic that I tap into. It's about consciousness. It's about unblocking our shit, or excuse my language, our stuff, so that we can like actually be free and be happy and joyful and have ease in our lives. And as far as like how I express my magic, I mean, I make art. I do a lot of inner work and like transformational stuff on my group calls and my programs. I used to just focus more on like people are coming to me for business. I'll give them business stuff. And then I was like, wait, this whole magical, like beautiful part of me is feeling unmet. So then now all the programs that I lead have both. We talk about the inner work. We talk about the energetics of everything we're doing. And we talk about the strategy of how to do it like effectively and how to do it with as much ease and automation and systemization as possible. But yeah, I also have an Oracle deck that isn't necessarily for entrepreneurs that I made that's just full of magic. And I don't have a copy of it that I can show on camera right now, but it's 60 cards that I made, just sort of invented. It's like a tarot deck, but it's not the tarot archetypes on the cards. Actually, the 6 suits of my deck are 6 archetypes from the tarot, but then I made up what 1 through 10 of each suit would be. And yeah, it's pretty beautiful. It's like a great little pep talk and energetic download when you open the deck. Yeah.
So that's awesome. I bet it is beautiful. It sounds like it is. So tell us a little bit about your book.
My book is called Wild Hearts Rise Up. And it is the sort of self-help memoir genre. It's all my stories, like some of my deepest, darkest secrets about what I had to go through and learn about myself to step into the level of business and leadership that I'm at right now. I just published it in January of 2022. I was going to go the traditional publishing route, but I got tired of it being on the shelf. So I was ready to just publish it. And it hit #1 on Amazon when we were doing the launch. So technically I'm an Amazon bestseller.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's called Wild Hearts Rise Up by Molly Mandelberg. And yeah, people are emailing me every week saying they love it. I got on a call with somebody last week and she said she had already read it twice. I was like, twice? Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It must feel so awesome to know that you're helping so many people like all over the world, and like you're not even touching them physically, you're not seeing them physically, but just to have that realization of, you know, I'm going to put my gift out there and I'm going to make sure that somebody is helped regardless of if I know them or not. Like that's an amazing feeling, you know?
It is. And I just want to shout out to people who read a book or listen to a podcast or take a course and they give feedback. Like the people who send you a message on Instagram or who bother to send you an email telling them that they'd love that thing. Like that is where us as a practitioner, a facilitator, a leader, an author, a podcaster, that's like the best moment when somebody actually acknowledges what you've created and you get to understand, like viscerally get that thing you made and bothered to do is actually landing somewhere and making that difference. Like shout out to those people because we appreciate that so much.
Definitely it is, and it touches you in ways they don't even realize. Like, yeah, definitely love feedback. So where can we find you?
Yeah. So I travel full time. I live nomadically. My travels and adventures and, sometimes businessy pep talks and insights all happen mostly on Instagram. So my Instagram is wild one rising. That's wild underscore ONE, the word one underscore rising. And then wildheartsraiseup.com on everything else. Wild Hearts Raise Up on TikTok, on Facebook, and wildheartsraiseup.com has my Oracle deck and my podcast. I actually have 2 podcasts, and all the programs and free gifts and stuff I have are on there.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys. So that is all of our time with Molly on today. Molly, this has been amazing, so inspirational, and I love it. I'm so glad you came on my show. I'm so glad you took out time to even come on my show. But
Thank you so much
thank
for
you.
having
You're
me.
welcome. You're welcome. So guys, make sure you look her up. Make sure you get her book. Make sure you just dive into whatever she's offering, because it's amazing. It's definitely going to change your life. It's definitely going to help you to go further than where you already are. And she boosts and brags about success, because that is what she does. So definitely, guys, if you want success in your life, look up Molly. Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys, thank you so much for joining me on Boss Wife Live, and I will see you guys next Tuesday.
Bye.